Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, back again. And as you can see, this is the reading that I left off with. And look, the King of Wands is even, I knocked him out of balance, which is my point of returning. I was looking at the playback of my message, and something was just striking me about how particularly I read this last row of cards. Now, what I said still stands. But if you recall, if you watch the other message, if not, just pause and go back because this probably won't make any sense. But if you recall, what I was saying is to beware of projection of illusions and ultimately distractions that would keep you stuck in this position where you feel like you're almost waiting for some particular outcome before you can move forward. So it really, you see how in the Eight of Swords, she's blind, stuck, bound, binded, is ultimately what the connotation of that card is. And I was looking back, and when I was looking at the bottom row, I was like, like I said, what I said stands for sure as the adverse projection of the energy, which is ultimately that this character here, who would be a high vibrational King of Wands, is regressing back into some bruised ego behavior. And that's what's ultimately been fueling this narcissistic behavior and tactics that, monitoring spirit now, that he persists in. And I did say that the justice is that those that have been vulnerable to it by way of the Three of Cups would be liberated on account of the exposure. But there was something else that was just ringing true to me, especially by way of this Ace of Pentacles, which is almost in itself, at times it can be a proposal, even like a marriage proposal, or just a big opportunity for material expansion in some way, shape, or form. And I was saying that it to me lately has been reading as gifts, like energetic spiritual gifts, special abilities, whatever powers, whatever you want to call them, but unique to your own destined path, which is by way of the star, of course. So what I was seeing is something much more high vibrational, which gives way to the ideal that the projection, even in real time in this message, was actually distracting me from the good news that I sensed after I actually watched it back. The justice is the return of any gifts or energy or even money, perhaps any type of prosperity that was supposedly lost in this exchange between this diabolical character or this diabolical force, however it shapeshifts itself to show up in your life, is going to be returned to you or to whomever was disadvantaged by the lack of such or the infringement of such. So everything that's seemingly lost is returned, right? So those gifts that were ultimately suspended or maybe even blocked, perhaps I said it also in ways of content or creativity that was stolen and mismanaged or assumed as ownership by some other source, like when we're talking about social media and people steal your content and then recreate it, or just some people just bold enough to just post it like it's theirs, honey. Like that's how it goes these days. But all of that energy, maybe even perhaps the money acquired, is going to be returned to whom it rightfully belongs to. So there's that. And I think I kind of said that. But where I feel like I just gave this King of Wands just the wrong vibration, it is what I said, as I said, but it also feels like some type of justification or redemption for a King of Wands whom perhaps has been projected in some regard as a, how can I say it, like as a, who hasn't been given the best rap. Like I didn't give him the best rap initially, for all intents and purposes, those said energies that are seeking to project themselves and exalt themselves by way of diminishing others' characters, that energy could be working to actually tarnish the potential of individuals that are worthy of the creativity and the power that they project, i.e., such as the King of Wands, who is a leader, who is a protector, who is ambitious, just naturally so. That's this come from. And there's some type of reconciliation that's happening. I'm hearing more redemption on account of those energies that maybe have either been, I hear framed in a sense. I don't know why I'm hearing that, but that have been set up or ultimately propped up to look a certain way, to look foul. I don't know how to say this, like how I'm feeling it, because it's like this King of Wands is not the same as this magician in the Knight of Wands energy. It can be two separate energies, but it's like this energy here on the same road in the Eight of Pentacles is working hard to project himself in this King of Wands energy with the characteristics of this King of Wands, even though that's not his original come from or his authentic come from. He's really the Knight. So what that does is it tarnishes the value of whom would truly be a King of Wands. Like, say for instance, practically so, you've had relationships with someone with the energy signature of someone that projected them. You had a relationship with someone who projected themselves in the energy signature of a King of Wands, all the high vibrational characteristics I spoke on. And then they completely, just obliterate your trust, desecrate your love in some regard, diminish your I don't know how to say it, but like they do such a number on you that anybody that would come to the table, say the next so-called King of Wands, who actually is a King of Wands, not pretending to be, but actually he might be charismatic. He might be passionate and ambitious, that has those signatures really and truly, naturally, authentically, organically. That could almost turn you away from accepting or even considering partnership with such a person, just on account of the fact that you've had that past regression with the one who presented themselves to be so-and-so. You know what I mean? I hope that's making sense. I don't even know if I'm going to post this. I don't know why I'm saying that, because if I don't, you'll never know, right? But I just felt this energetic nudge that I needed to come back and just restate some things, because I feel like I did exactly what this energy would want me to do in the lower vibration, and that is miss the opportunity for something that could be actually really good news by way of distracting me on what is not even relevant anymore. Like literally putting you back on a timeline about their BS and what has happened, what's already occurred, what's even been dismantled at this point as far as you're concerned, when the true focal point is the fact that all this goodness is coming into play. And even with the Four of Wands and the Hierophant, this Hierophant literally is marriage, and you see where it's landing, but on the Six of Cups, which is like a reunion of sorts. This could be a past relationship come back together, or even a relationship that has a past life signature that is not low vibrational at all, but something that is just familiar in essence, that's destined to come back around in this new space and time, because it's just divine for it to regenerate that way, which is everything that this energy is saying to me. With the Justice, the Ace of Pentacles, which is a proposal or some big opportunity, of divine ordinance, which the Three of Cups, which is like even a bridal, like all this is here now that I'm looking at it, but even like a bridal shower or some cause for celebration with the Three of Cups. The Six of Cups, again, reconciliation, some nostalgia of the past. Now that's not always good, of course, so that's why I'm saying like this is still relevant for what I said, but I feel like I had to come back and say this because it doesn't just stop there. There's something to look forward to, and this energy of that's in this delusional state that really has no way to touch you, to put their hands on you, to really get you in their grips, because you have elevated and ascended to such a level of, spiritual spiritual groundedness. This is another tactic, as I said, to just keep you kind of stuck on a loop, or just enough, bound just enough that you wouldn't even be able to see, perceive, let alone conceive the possibilities that there's so much goodness on the horizon, probably even closer to you than you think, honestly. And I was just going to leave it alone because I'm like, oh, well, it's still true. It's still right. But I feel like just leaving that vibration out there is really anti what I'm about, which is, mostly seeing things from the highest frequency possible, and living in that vibe, not necessarily continuing to recount negative experiences, or even, just cycles of karmic crap, ultimately, that at this point in time really don't affect those that are living in the upright, that are living in their truth, living in justice, and living in honor and integrity. That projection, that works, even that subtlety, which is why I feel like I'm really called to come back, because just that subtle shift of perspective where I missed a whole positive message that perhaps a King of Wands that has a lot of passion. And look, the counterpart is right here. But look where she's looking at what was work that was done that doesn't even matter, because as I said in the reading, this person is operating on a whole different timeline. So this is a tactic to ultimately keep you stuck on a timeline that you don't even submit to or relate to anymore. That literally does not affect you. That has no sense of impact on your life in real time at all. It only projects itself to appear so because that's where your mind is focused, or that's where this type of tactic can keep your mind suspended, instead of you actually completely releasing any past experience, especially the most unfavorable ones, and looking ahead to all this bright future that's, here in your midst, right here and right now. This is real time. Marriage, a stable home, healthy lifestyle, not just a projection of a power couple that wants to appear to be creative, but one that actually is, and that's what you have an entitlement to be and to be within. I just had to say that, and it probably will go up because I never turn on this camera or this phone for nothing. It's purposeful, but I just wanted to make sure that I made that clear. And the point of it all is just to make sure, well, not to make sure, but just to be mindful that you're operating on a present timeline. And that for someone in the Queen of Cups, Star vibe, and the Ace of Cups should be in a present mind state of prosperity in all ways. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, there really isn't even much room for regression into past unfavorable experiences, because that's too much vulnerability for it to be embodied in the present moment to project as a future possibility, meaning that you may even attract a reoccurrence of that vibration just on account of continuing to think about it, to consider it as a part of your reality. At this point in time, just as I said, it don't even matter anymore. Whatever you've gone through, whoever has done it, whoever may even still be planning to do something, it may be plotting on your demise, or that you even may have evidence that has been successful in some regard or made some impact on your life in some negative way. They don't even matter anymore. They really don't matter. That's really what it comes down to, is that they have no relevance in your life. They have no value in your future. They take no authority in your present existence. It's just an illusion. So if we can release ourselves from even allowing them to have space and place in our minds, you know. And something else was downloaded to me that I don't know if I'm going to say it real quick, because it's not like it's not, but I'm going to reiterate this later when I've had time to sit with it, because it's connected to this projection piece. That a lot of the energy that's being expelled in the spiritual community by way of the readings and such like that. Now, I'm not saying that this stuff is not really happening, but what I'm definitely getting the sense of is that it's a seed that's being infinitely planted over and over again for the purposes of just what I said, keeping us stuck in one place on a timeline of things that may have actually occurred, may have existed, may be true. Some of it, I don't even know if it is true holistically for everyone, because it's like, damn, everybody's been going through the same thing. Everybody's been having the same experience. There's something funny about it to me in my spirit, you know, again, not to negate anyone's truth, and not even my own, you know, for that instance, but it even had me thinking, you know, had me thoughtful, like, well, what of it is real? What of it is true? What of it is valid? And the fact of the matter is, there's been some reason why these experiences have been drudged up in the psyche. It's been for a purpose, but what purpose is it truly? Is it for the matter of it being inciting healing for those psychological woundings that, like I said, perhaps you didn't even really know existed until you went through a spiritual awakening? Or is that awakening now being used almost in a shape-shifted way, in an adverse way, to keep us blocked playing the same reruns over and over again by way of the readers that we watch and by way of the messages that we're ingesting one to another now, because we're all speaking to each other in the spiritual community, quite honestly. And like I said, although there's truth to the experiences, it hasn't come out of thin air for sure, but it's like, what are the messages really working to do? Are they healing? Are they? Or are they perpetuating the same pain over and over again, keeping us in this place of so-called expectation for justice that has already been assumed? You know, just the very fact that you have eyes to see beyond the veil and you have your mind and your spirit, your soul intact, is the justice in essence. And that justice of self-awareness and assuredness to boot is what's bringing in all of this amazing stuff post being exonerating yourself. You know, this is a space in the Eight of Swords where you almost keeping yourself bound on account of what you're allowing your mind to fixate on and circulate through your psyche. You know, and yes, it's coming by way of projection, but as I always say, what of it are you in agreement with to give it precedence in your life, to give it authority, to literally give it presence, you know? And I'm saying that I'm just as guilty in this regard too, literally with the Justice card, because there are messages that I get sucked into, you know, and some of it is very enlightening and affirming for what I know to be true, right? But then on the other side of it, it's like, how much affirmation do you really need? You know what? That's the point of this whole delusional mind fuck here, is to make you distrust your intuition and your emotional intelligence, to send you on a loop of like, is this true? Can I trust myself? Is that real? Did I hear what I heard? Do I feel what I feel? Yes, you do. So even as I'm saying it to myself, like, we keep watching these things for more validation, more certainty, more confidence in our own spiritual security, when you really have to be, I think it's time for us collectively to be mindful of what we're engaging our conscious with. And as I said, it's not that it hasn't happened. It's not that it isn't happening. It's not that there aren't those out there that are put in a position to be light bearers to really bring this news to the forefront for those that just don't know, or that don't know where their imbalance is coming from. All of that is valuable, but at one point in time, does it eventually become yet another weapon in the arsenal of the enemy, literally with these swords here, to keep us stuck on some loop, as if we can't move forward without this validation, without some type of physical evidence, without some type of justice that we can see with our own eyes against those that we think or feel have wronged us in some way, shape, or form. Like that's a stuck position to be in. Is not forwarding, I will say that. It's not the most productive and the most forwarding. Not to say that you're not growing and I'm not growing because of watching, karmic readings and things like that. I'm not saying that, and I hope I'm not offending anybody, because that's not my point. But because I'm talking to myself just as much as I'm talking to anyone else, which is probably why I had this experience with my own reading, which I very rarely come back with any type of retraction or anything like that. If anything, it's just more of an addition and by way of an afterword to something else that has occurred to me after watching it back. And I've been kind of not doing that as much, because I've been feeling secure that what I said is what I said. And anything that I pick up on the background is more for me than anything at this point. So I'm saying all this to say is, don't allow yourself to be blocked by yourself, by continuing to invest in messages that do not promote you at your healthiest and at your wholest, especially when you already know the truth for what it is. The sun is here in the midst of all of this. The sun, and especially given we're in Libra season, justice is already served, whether you see it or not. And the sun has been here really since Leo season, illuminating everything and everyone, including you and I. As righteous as we may feel, there's an illumination for all things, So it's more important for us to be clear about the light that we are standing in, quite honestly, than it is to worry about the darkness that someone else may be projecting. Now, does that mean that I'll never have another reading that has a lower vibrational tone or a karmic connotation? I can't really say that it does, because I just speak as I'm guided to do so. But what I will do is really start to be much more intentional about what I connect to, because me personally, when I was experiencing the worst of the worst, it still wasn't my come from to really report on karmic situations, on these lower vibrational energies. Now, I know that I'm here to truth tell and shed light in some ways, but what I always try to do, even with the most low frequency information, is to shed some light on it so that it's more healing for those that are listening on one way or the other. You know what I mean? On one side of the scale or the other. That even if you might find yourself in relation or correlation with that negative vibration, that I'm able to say something that would impart some hope or just a different perspective to consider as to how to heal and move forward. On the same on both sides, But it is it's my desire to release information and messages that are healing holistically, that are forwarding, that are going to be empowering to whomever connects with them. So it's just, and here's this damn spirit again. Beat it. On the King of Wands at that. So it's just, it's just food for thought. You could take it as you will. Some of you may not even tap into this message. You may not even watch the first one, or you may not go back to watch it again. Whatever the case may be, this is for my creative conscious, that I had to come back as the spirit was nudging me to do so, to just shed light, not just on the lower vibration, but, on the light of vitality that is due to us all, that is of us all, and to ultimately give that word of consideration maybe perhaps even caution that mind's eye is very sensitive right now. It can be illusioned or delusion one way or another, not just on account of external projection, but also on account of what we're feeding ourselves day in and day out. So even as that pertains to me and what I have to say, for sure, use your discernment, literally, with the Queen of Cups here. Run that through the highest supreme source and force that you submit to, and make sure that it resonates holistically, and that you extract only the highest vibration of life force from it. Something that's going to push you ahead, but not knock you backwards into some old cycle. That's going to promote your highest good and project you into the future that is most desirable at the end of the day. Okay, so that's all I have to say, and I'm done. I'll receive it as you will. Thank you for listening. Till next time, peace.